व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं
कृष्णं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं
तस्मै पाणिनये नमः.
तस्मै पाणिनये नमः।
So it is all today we'll see tasmai paninaye tasmai. Why tasmai? When it is used. So we have been doing in the last class we were talking of noun morphology, that is the formation of nouns, which was there are two types I told you. One is inflectional, so the suffixes which are used to form nouns are two types. One group is inflectional, another is called derivational. Inflectional means when it is used with a word, the word ends there. There is no further addition, like Ramaha. After you add sup, there no other suffix can be used. That's why they are also called word finals. But there are other suffixes which are used with noun to form another stem that is called anga. So this is what the derivational suffix. The how a noun is derived from another noun. So examples we had given Dasarathi from Dasaratha. Dasarathasya apatyang puman. When it is the son of Dasaratha, we use the suffix e. So that's why it is get Dasarathi. So when e is added, we get Dasarathi. So it becomes another Pratipadika. It is a derived noun. Why you call derived? Because after e only, you can add again sup. Say Dasaratihi gachati. So to be used in a sentence, a word must end with sup or thing. So supting atang padam, antam. So the noun, when it is used with a sup only, it is used in the sentence. Before sup, it is formed with another suffix. This is called this derivational suffix. In English, you have al, national. Okay, in verb, you have maker. Same way, what is derivational? For us, it is krut and tadhita. So krut, tadhita suffixes are used to derive the other forms. Please go to the next slide. You will see that in Sanskrit also, see this. So inflectional is only soup and thing. Once it is added, no other suffix can be added. So Ramaha. Think like that, bhavati. Once ti is used, then no other suffix can be added after that. But before that, we can use the suffixes to form another stem that is called anga. So like you get bhava, then you get ti. So for getting bhava, we are adding a suffix. Similarly, in soup also, asarati. So even this soup and thing, so these are called inflectional because they are word finals. They are used directly in the sentences. Soup and thing. Without that, you cannot use in the sentences. Whereas other suffixes are used to form another stem or another noun we call pratipadika. That's why he says krut tadita samasascha. So krut tadita and samasa are three derived nouns. There are simple nouns. Can you do next one if you can see this? Next, please. See this simple and complex. So what is called derived is called actually complex morphemes. So morphemes, simple, then or we have to have independent morphemes like the prakritis or the pratipadikas, basic, the simple pratipadika, and complex means which are derived with suffixes. If you look at these derivational suffixes, there are three types. One is noun becomes noun. When it comes, we add the suffix, tadhita suffix is added to get a noun. That's why you get dasarati. Second category is verb becomes noun. We call verbal noun in English or linguistics. So that is B plus suffix. This suffix is called krudanta. So krut and tadita are nothing but the derivational suffixes. By adding this suffix, we get another pratipadika or another noun. So that's why nouns are three types which are derived. So what is said derivational nouns in Panini terminology, because all are used with suffix, derived with suffixes. Based on suffixes, he distinguished them taditanta, krudanta, and samasa. Krut, tadita, samasa. The word, the sutra 1 to 46. Three derived pratipadikas are used in language. So that means three types of derived nouns. So there are simple nouns and there are derived nouns. Derived why? Because the suffixes to which we derive another noun. This is called derivation. What is in derivation? The category changes. See that noun becomes noun. Actually, it is also used as adjectives. Dasaratihi Ramaha. So though we say it is a noun, nominal, but it is also represents adjectives, because in Sanskrit, noun and adjectives belong to the same categories. Because they are inflected in the same way. They are derived in the same way. And second category, if you see, verb becomes noun. And noun plus noun becomes again noun. So these are the changes in the category. So derivational suffixes, when it is added, it changes the category. From that, you know this is a derivational suffix. English, you have maker. ER is derivational, but ing is inflectional. Once you use ing, you cannot use any other suffix. It is in every language. The system is same. Whatever is described as universal, this is the universality of language. When words are used, they are all derived within. It is not borrowed. These words are not borrowed. So grammar cannot be borrowed. Grammar describes the processing, the derivation of forms within the language. So this shows that every language has a system, how the words are processed, how the words are derived. So one word from the other word. So that is why they are divided into simple and complex in linguistics. What we call it simple pratipadika and derived pratipadika. That's why the sutras 1 to 45, arthavat, adhatu, apratyaya pratipadikam for simple, and krut tadhita samasas cha. By cha also it means pratipadika 1 to 46. So these two sutras describe the whole nomenclature of the all nominals used in the language. Either you have a simple noun or derived nouns. Our nouns are derived with suffixes. That's why they are known through suffixes. So we say krudanta, taditanta, samasa. What we mean this? The same thing is derivational. It is used in linguistics. But inflectional and derivational are the two types of suffixes which forms krutaita samasascha. Correct. So the first one is 45. 1 to 45 is arthavat, adhatu, apratyaya, pratipadika. So pratipadika is a name given to noun or nominal stem. This is Paninian terminology, pratipadika. So pratipadika means nominal stem, whether it is simple or derived. For simple, the first sutra is arthavat, adhatu, apratyaya, pratipadikam, 1 to 45. He describes. And second, he gives you krut tadita samasascha. These are the three derived nouns only. If you look at the sentences we had given in the beginning, three types of sentences, three groups. First group, you have simple sentences. Second groups, you had this dasaratihi, pachakaha, sitapatihi. The examples we had taken, they represent the second category, that is derived nouns. The sentences we had in the beginning, if you look at the second group represents only derived nouns. And third group gives you the pronouns. That's why I told you these three types of nouns are only to used in the sentences. You cannot get more sentences because the nouns which are used in the language are only three. English sentences we had taken from various languages. First group we had given Ramaha Gacchati, all the Ram is going, Ram jata hai, like that from all languages we had taken. In second group I had shown you Dasaratihi Gacchati, Sitapatihi Gacchati, Shasakaha Gacchati, which represents the three derived nouns. So nouns can be simple and complex or derived. And these derived nouns are known by us with the endings. That's why Tadhita, Krudanta, and Samasa. Krut, Tadhita, yes. This is the second group where you see, I had told you, you cannot get a fourth variety of subject. First one is simple, rest, the next three are derived nouns. Without these four, the subjects you bring, there will be nothing other than only the third category you get the pronouns, and pronouns are always used in this place of these nouns. So that's why in the third category we have the pronouns. Can you just next please? No, pronouns. Sahataute, I think it was there. Yeah, this is all we have given for these examples for the simple sentence, simple subject, simple nouns. First subject, second is the derived, and third one is the pronoun. Okay, so it is a common division. The all sentences they begin with only with these three types. That is, it may be simple noun, it can be derived noun or pronoun. That is why all the subjects or all the nouns which are used in our languages, they represent, when they are used as subject, they will be either of these. If we understand these are the basic sentences, the basic division of nouns, if you take as the basic division of nouns, so any noun we are using in our languages will come under this. So always look at, we have to come to the root, come to the basics. These are the basic type of sentences. The basic types of sentences begin with subject only. So these subjects represent only three types of nouns. So that is simple noun, then these are derived nouns and pronouns. So Panini has put them within these two rules, tells you. So Pratipadika means any noun which is meaningful or the nouns which are derived from other noun or verb. So that is why the Dasaratihi, Sitapatihi, Ayudha Sasaka. So these are the varieties of noun that is used in the language. But these nouns are formed. If you take Dasaratihi, if you take out Su, Dasarati is the nominal stem. So Dasarati, similarly Sitapati. So Sitapati is compound form. And Sasaka is again a derived noun from Sasadhatu with Aka Pratyaya, which means the ruler. So the divisions or the formation of nouns first with one suffix. Then we add the word final or inflectional suffix. So inflectional suffix always come at the end of the word and derivational suffix come before that. Why? Now with derivational suffix we form another stem. That is called the derived pratipadika or derived noun. And each noun again can be used in the sentence with su. So that is why these complex things has been classified into inflectional, derivational, and for Paninian system it is subanta and tinganta for inflectional, and for derivational krut tadhita samasaha suffixes are used so that we get any noun used in the language. In the whole of Sanskrit literature, you cannot get more than this variety. That is how rule is possible, how he makes a rule, how it is adequate, why it is not changing. This remains, it speaks of the observational adequacy, how much you have observed, what are the basics, which are changing. So the basic units are classified according to again simple and complex. So Arthavata Dhatu Pratipadika tells about the simple nouns, then Krutadya Samasas gives you derived nouns. These two sutras explain all the nominal forms used in the whole of Sanskrit literature. Now, what is the special Pratipadika? How do you know? And Pratipadika, once it becomes Pratipadika only, we can add sup. So Pratipadika, sup prataya. Sup is Tinganda. Sorry, sup is Subanta, that is the nominal ending, the inflectional one. And from Dhatu, we get the verbal ending. We will come to next. So this is called the noun morphology, how nouns are derived and how nouns are used in the sentence. So when they are derivational suffix, you form a stem, we call it Pratipadika, and when it is used in the sentence with sup, it becomes a pada. That is why difference is made between word and the padas, grammatical term. Why Panini needs padam? Because padam is only used in the sentence with sup or thing. Without sup and thing, they are only Pratipadika or the basic elements. So one is formation, another is the application. So in the derivational suffixes are used for forming the word base from simple to complex. And once the complex form is made, then when you use in the sentence applies, then sup is added. Same process with verb also. When we come to verb also, we will see the same way. So that is why the formative suffixes, which helps to derive the nouns, there are only three types: Krut, Tadita, and Samasa. Fine. So these three represent the derived nouns, and first Arthavata Dhatu Pratipadika represent to all other nouns, whatever names we know, we use. 5 types of nouns we use in traditional grammar, no? Name of things, name of person, name of object, name of qualities, etc., etc. But here we get only 4 types of noun grammatically. Linguistically, you need 4 structurally. This is the word structure. The words are structured in 2 ways, either with inflectional suffix or with derivational. But derivational suffixes are first used to form this stem, complex form, then you add sup, it becomes another noun, like Dasarathi, Pachaka, etc. Okay, so we'll go to the next. Now, when these Pratipadikas are formed, they take sup pratyaya. Now, we are talking of, in noun morphology, one is stem formation. Okay, so these are the stem formation. So whenever Dasarathi, it comes apatyarthe. If it is apatyartha, you get ya pratyaya, this is Tadita. That's why you call Dasarathi. These are named as Taditas. Okay, and how do you get it? These are formation will come later. First, let us see how these words are derived, how the Pratipadikas are derived. Dasaratha plus ya, you get Dasarathi. Nada plus you get Nada. We'll get the form Nada, I mean the son of Nada, all in apatyarthe. Next, please. These are the changes that. Next, please. Yes. Again, Gargya, you get Garga, Dibyo, Young. So different pratyas are used. Siva, Saiva. Dakshi. Dakshi is the mother of Panini, is called Dakshi Putra, because his mother's name was Dakshi. So this way, then Shiva on you get Saiva, Vishnu on you get Vaishnava. So different way the words are derived. All are the, see, Labanika. You have a Varsika, Masika, Kalika we are using in our languages. How it is formed? With the Thaya. It is not Thava, Thaya. The ya pratyaya, Thaya. Okay? Thaya, it becomes Ika. Kalat Thaya. The sutra is there. Kalat Thaya. 4-3-11. We tell that in Kalavachi Sabdas, take a Thaya pratyaya, you get Kalika, Masika. So Varsika, all these words are derived with the Thaya pratyaya. So like that, Labanat, this is not Thaya, we will change it. So next, please. So this is about the Tadita pratyayas. The next is, Deepa, can you change to next? So these studies, so that is there. Now, look at this. Once you get Pratipadika, can you show the Sarva, please? Next. Look at this. Why I am giving this now? The Su Pratyayas, 1 second, please. Can you show the morphology of rule of Su? I had given you, please, one slide. Look at this. Whenever we take the Pratyayas, the soup. When we take the soup, how many rules we need? So one type of rules, they are used to form the stems, like Krutaita Samasascha. These are derived suffixes to form the derivation nouns or verbs. Now, when they are used with a soup or thing, with a soup, what happens? Why we need so many rules? Su is one pratyaya. I think I have sent you the Chomsky's interview yesterday. One clip I have sent to you. Try to listen whenever you get time. He emphasizes. Still, he emphasizes that what we want to learn, what is the main thing in linguistics, what is the main issues. The main issue of linguistics, he insists, he tells, he gives, to know the invisible with the help of visible, to know the unknown from the known. Whatever we know, from where it comes, how it comes, we do not know. So we should know that. Then only we can say what is with us is correct or right. This is what the unknown thing is. We have one pratyaya, prathama vibhakti ekavachana, we say. But it is used with all types of nouns. The pratipadikas, for all other languages, though they are same, but for Sanskrit, the pratipadikas are classified based on their marker. Their property is gender. All the nouns are identified with gender. That is, one can be masculine, feminine, or neuter. So the nouns used in Sanskrit are not like other languages, because all nouns in Sanskrit are inflected for gender. They take the gender suffix, masculine, feminine, and neuter. And this difference is also made, Panini has given the sutras, what are the three pratyayas we say, there is one section. How you get aja, aja. Aja means goat, male goat, aja means female goat. So all the words we get in our, in the word formations. So with noun formation, with krut, adhita, and samasa, we get also gender. That is masculine, feminine, and neuter. This is, so it is the only property of nouns or pratipadikas, not the property of verbs. In our languages, Indian languages, the gender is associated with mostly with the verb. But in Sanskrit, gender is not associated with the verb. So that's why we say it is not grammatical gender. Grammatical gender means when the verb is changed, like jata hai, jati hai in Hindi. And in Tamil also you have, what you call, poran, poral. Al is feminine, an is masculine. If we add with a verb, it gets masculine, feminine differences. But that is not so with Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, the nouns are classified according to genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. So naturally, when a suffix is added, su is for common for all are pratipadikas. If we want to add su, then where we should add? A pratyaya should be added to all nouns. So according to us, so we have three genders, and all these genders are distinguished by vowels. So when they short, it is, masculines. When they are long, it is feminine. And the rest are, if it is consonant ending, it will come to see that now. That is why the basic division would mean ajanta, halanta. Ach means vowels, and hal means consonant endings, halanta. So on that basis, the division or the changes are described by Panini, and giving the sutra, halangyabhyo dirgha srutisya aprat. Hal. This sutra, I have split. The sutra number is 8 to 60. 1 second. 63. Please check it. Halangyabhyo dirgha srutisya apruttam hal. Sutra already I had given you earlier. What happened? Can I change?
1 minute.
Sorry. Yes. So now, first you take all the nominals ending with the consonant and C. So noun with C, I indicate noun ending with a consonant. What happens? The su is dropped. Su lopa. Halan. So conditions he gives how su pratyaya is used and what are the changes. The su is here taken as a morpheme. Morpheme means which is a unit of meaning, whether it is free or bound. So this is actually this pratyaya in morpheme, what we call in linguistics a morpheme. Even yesterday, if you listen to the lecture of Chomsky, these morphemes are abstract entities. They are unit of meaning. So meanings are abstract. The meaning ekavachana, prathama vibhakti for us, or first case singular. The first singular is an abstract entity. It is realized through the pratyaya shu. So su is only a marker. It indicates a particular kind of meaning, that is first person singular or prathama vibhakti ekavachana in our terminology. So this prathama vibhakti, when it is used with a consonant ending, we find it is dropped. That's why you get marut, marutau, marutaha. So marut shabda. There is no visarga here. So according to the rule, so consonant ending drop the shu pratyaya. Then second is you take this. Now the dirgha. The colon mark always represents dirgha. Linguistically, they are using this mark, not a stroke at the top. So ni dirgha, a also nominal feminine ending with e and a. It also includes u. Nadi, lata, badu. They also delete su. Su pratyaya is deleted in consonant ending and with the nominals with the feminine dirgha. So halangyabhya dirgha. Then we get actually there are also neuter nouns which ends in short e and short o. Short e you get bari. Vari means water. It is neuter. Prathama ekavachana is bari, no visarga. It is lopa. And madhu, madhuni. Madhu is also hrasva u, but it is neuter. Because it is neuter, the su is dropped. So su lopa, the prathama vibhakti ekavachana su, Panini has taken why? If it is lopa, why should take a suffix? Now look at, we'll see what is the morpheme and what are these variants. So I had told you in linguistics they are using morpheme and allomorphs. Allophone means the variants of a morpheme. Same morpheme, when it occurs in different environment, in different conditions, it undergoes change. So there it doesn't change the meaning. Once it changes meaning, then it will be different. But it only represents another form, a variant, we say. This is called allomorph. So in the beginning, see the su pratyaya indicates it is a morpheme. Why he has taken su? Again will come. The same su, so I have taken A, B, C. There are three variants. There are three changes. Or three places su is used. One is, in one place I have shown you, the first one is lopa. There is no su in these three categories. When you come to B, the su becomes When, if noun ends in o and neuter. So if a neuter noun is akaranta, like phala, jnana, you have jnanam, phalam, the su becomes Here this is not ditya vibhakti. Here the is prathama vibhakti ekavachana. So neuter noun, akaranta napunsaka, they delete the su becomes And C tells you su elsewhere means in all other places. This is how the morphological rules are written to show you that what is a basic morpheme, why you have taken su as the basic, because it is open, it is free. Only the lopa and these two are only changes, but they are conditional changes. In a particular condition, su undergo change. Either it becomes 0 or it becomes Otherwise, su remains because su comes in majority of the places. And the changes are always conditional. Since changes are conditional, so which is unconditional is always the real morpheme, the pure morpheme, what he said. So that is morpheme which comes in all places, majority places. Allomorphs, they are called allomorphs because they are only conditional changes, variants. Sometimes they are also called positional variants. What we call conditional variants or positional variants. In a particular context only it changes. So that's why they are called the allomorphs. So morpheme and allomorphic relations used in linguistics is clearly defined by Panini in his rules. That is, when you say soup in general, pratipadika soup, it is a general open rule. Then for this, he says halangyabyo dirgha sutisha apruktang hal. That is 6168 sutra tells you that halanta, dirgha and napunsaka, e and a, they are deleted. And when you come to neuter, the neuter or text becomes So su has three representation: su, zero, lopa, and So that is what this one rule, halangyabya su pratyaya, is defined for all the nouns. Wherever used prathama vibhakti, whether there should be visarga or not. How do you know? From this rule, halangyabya dirgha sutisha 6168. 6168. One rule tells you for lopa. I had told you the language changes in three ways, no? Lopa, agama, vikara. If there is a change, it can be either lopa or vikara. So has is a vikara. Here it is lopa. Okay, so lopa, agama, vikara are always the three parameters that you can say guideline he has put. Within this, the change takes place. So, and other thing for this ato napunsakat, ato there is a sutra that is 61107, ato which tells you that in napunsaka, akaranta, again ato, su becomes So there are two rules tells you the use of su, prathama vibhakti ekavachana, so that any noun you see anywhere to be used in prathama vibhakti, whether there should be visarga or not, always confusion takes place. The mistake comes whether visarga should be there or not. Only one rule will tell you where it should be there, where it should not be there. So it's a finite set with one rule. You can control the whole structure, the whole usages. Any text you read in Sanskrit, you cannot get a variation other than these two. 23. Sorry, it is 23. Okay, there are two rules. Auto is following the napunsakat. Previous rule is napunsaka. This is auto. So this gives you these two rules. Tells you prathama vibhakti. Whenever you are using a subject, what we call agent or karta, the karta cannot be other than this. Wherever you use karta, it is used with the prathama vibhakti, and when it is to be visarga or not is clearly described within these rules. This is a finite rule with which you can talk of any subject, you can explain and you can justify, yes, whether it should be there or not. If we know the rule, and imagine all the changes that has taken language, he is able to observe and describe properly. The descriptive adequacy, just look at the wordings he has used. Hal. Why this hal pratyahara? Remember, why hal pratyahara? With using hal, it tells all the consonant endings. So this is one way how grammatical rules of Panini describe methodically, scientifically, logically, how observational adequacy, descriptive adequacy, and also explanatory. So explanation you don't need to give; it is automatically. Alangyava dirghat pancham is there. So you get this samoha, so napunsaka atoam. Now next go to see the same thing. Let us see. Whenever we are using noun, this is noun morphology. Morphological rules are written like this. Now, as I told you, we have two types of basically grammatically noun and pronoun. They become the so if you take derived and simple, they are all nouns, pratipadikas. But these pratipadikas are called nouns, as we know. But along with noun, pronoun also has the equal function. What is that? It also is used as a subject. No, Rama gachati, Saha gachati. So Saha is coming. No, he is going. No, he, she comes. They are always replacing the noun. But they are different is they are not independent. Without noun, you cannot use he. So the same way, Sanskrit Panini has given you two sets of noun. One is the Pratipadika, that is called this simple or derived, and second is the pronoun, the Sarvanama also. We call it, he calls Sarvadini Sarvanamani. 1:127. Sarvadini Sarvanamani. Now when you say Sarvanama, so in Sanskrit, the noun and pronoun all are used as Pratipadika, all take the Supratyaya, but when they take Supratyaya, you find a difference. This is morphological difference, not syntactic or semantic. We will take it. Let us see this now. See one sutra, if you take this Tritiya Vibhakti, Ta, Bhyam, Bis, there is a sutra. So plural I had given you, Ta, Bhyam, Bis. Now, Bis I had told you, Oto, Bis, Ois, how Okaranto is only Bis, sorry, Ois, rest of the places Bis. Now when you take the Tritiya Ekavachana Ta, what happens? Just look at this. In one sutra, so can you show the forms first, please? Rama and Sarva Sabda. Why I was showing that? See, this is if you Rama Sabda, Ramaha, Sarvaha. Okay? So Prathama and Ditya are almost same. Even in Tritiya also. Sarva, Sarvau, Sarbe, then Sarvam, Sarvau, Sarban, Sarbena, Sarbabhyam, Sarbehi. Both are Paman is Okaranta. First look at this. Both are Okaranta, Rama and Sarva Sabda. Both are Okaranta. But they are technically they are different because this is a pronoun. Why it is called pronoun? Because it is used only in the place of other nouns. That's why it is a Sarvanama. Sarva, Sarvasya Nama. So you can use he for all the nouns, third persons. You can see for third person feminine. Now, if you look at this, Ramaha, Ramo, Rama, here you have Sarva, Sarvo, Sarbe. The plural is different. Then Ramam, Ramo, Raman, Sarvam, Sarvo, Sarman remain same. And if you take this, Sarve, Ramena, Ramabhyam, Ramehi, here it is Sarvena, Sarvabhyam, Sarvehi. Except Prathama, Bahuvachana, up to Tritiya Vibhakti, all remain same. The Sarvanama, though it is Akaranta, so it is just like Rama Sabda also, it is Sarvena. Here you have Ramena. But if you go further, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, so there is a change. Same suffix, with Rama, you get Ramaya, whereas here you get Sarvasmai. I told you, no, the Tasmai Paninaye Nama. Why Tasmai? When? Look at it. Here it is Smai. So, what is Ramaya? Chaturthi Ekavachana. Here it is Sarvasmai. Sarvasmat. Sarvasya, Sarvasmin. Ekavachanas, mostly you see this. Fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. The Ekavachanas are different from Rama. Ekavachanas are only different. Rest of things are same. In Rama Sabda, Prathama, Ditya, Tritiya up to Tritiya, all are same. All the three vibhaktis. But Chaturthi, Panchami, Sashti, and Saptami, only Ekavachanas are different. Now, Pratyas are same. Fifth singular, sixth singular, fourth singular. The singular forms are only changed. Rest of things same. So, if you know Rama Shabda, you can understand the Sarva Shabda also pronouns, except these singulars. What has happened there? So, singular suffixes are, so, Chaturthi Ekavachan. Now, what is the morpheme? What is the suffix? Whether ya or smai. In one place it is ya, another it is smai. That is the basic difference between noun and pronoun. The smai comes. So, Sarbadini, when he says Sarbadini, Sarbanama, Sarbadi means Sarba, Para, Anya, all the other pronouns, Tat Sabda, Sahataute, these are also pronouns. So, Tasmai, it is coming Tat Sabda. Parasmai, from Para, all are Sarvanamas. Anyasmai, again Sarvanama. Wherever you get Smai, it must be a Sarvanama. Look at. Vibhakti is same. Chaturthi Ekavachana. If it is Akaranta, Ramayo, you get Ya. It is only again Akaranta. We will be showing that. And if it is Sarva, if it is Akaranta, but Sarvanama, you get Smai. So Smai Pratyaya is a replacement of Ya. And if you take both, which one is the original? Which is the morpheme? Now, Panini has taken the morpheme as Nge. Nge Vyam Vyas. Please, can you show that? The Sutra, please take it. Next, you will get this. What is the change here? 1 minute. Yes. This we are giving third, fifth, and sixth. Tang Gasing Gasam in Asyuhu. Syaha. 7-1-12. And condition is auto. If a noun ends in O, the Tritiya Vibhakti, Ta suffix, changes to Ina. Example I have given here, Deva plus Ina, Debena, Tritiya Ekavachana. And it is Ramena, same suffix, only Na comes because of Ra. Rasabhyang Nonaha Samana Pade. If there is Ra or Sha in one pada, Na becomes Na. Remember, Ramena. That's why you get Sarvena. Otherwise, it is Na, Ina Pratyaya. Ina is a Adesha for Ta. So, Ta gets a replacement, Ina, with the Akaranta Pratipadikas. All the Akaranta Pratipadikas you can learn Tritiya with the Ekavachana is Ena. So, you get Ramena, Brukyena. Any noun you ends in O, we will take Ina Pratyaya, you get Devena, by the God. The meaning. How do you translate? How do you interpret? Tritiya Vibhakti is always by or with. Gus, that is fifth singular, you get At. Gus becomes At. Devat, from the God. And Gus plus Sya, that is sixth Ekavachana, you get Devasya, of the God. So these three replacements are given in the Sutra. Ta, Gasi, Gasam, in At, Syaha. Again, respectively, Yatha Sankyam, 1, 3, 10 rule says Yatha Sankyam respectively. Now look at this. He is using the sutras with the technical terms. Ta, Gas, Gasi. And they are replaced by particular thing in a particular condition. So change every rule that is used. What we call niyama? Niyama is that which is conditional. You apply only in this place, not everywhere. So changes are seen, all the nouns are used, but for Akaranta, he says, Tritiya Ekavachana is Ina. So that's why with Sandhi you get Devena. So if you take all the Akaranta nouns, the Tritiya and Panchami and Sashti Ekavachana is same. Devena, Devat, Devasya. Other things remain same. The Divachana, Bahuvachanas, Bhyam, Bhyas, they remain constant. They do not change. The change is only in the Ekavachanas. If it is Akaranta, you get this. Okay? So next, how the rules, morphological rules. Now, Chaturthi, see, fourth one, this Nge. Now, he has taken Nge. Why? Because there are two realizations. One is Ya, another is Smai, another is Sya. There are three actually. I will show that. First thing is, we get Ya, Deva plus Nge. Deva, Nge become Ya. You get Deva, Ya, for the God. Ngeriyaha, there is a sutra, Ngeriyaha, 7.1.13. Ngehe means Nge pratyasya, Ya adesha. Sashti, I told you, Sashti sthana yoga. Ye Ngehe, Ya. Nge in the place of Nge, you get Ya. So Deva plus Ya, we get Bruddhi, Deva Ya. There is a Bruddhi by Supicha, there is a sutra, will come also, you will know that, Supratyaya, you get Bruddhi. So you get Deva Ya. Now when you come to Sarvanama, that is why. The same Ge becomes Mai. So it is not Ya becomes Mai. It is Nge, the morpheme is one. The morpheme gets representation, which are called the allomorphs. So Nge is the morpheme because it is the abstract one. That's why he has named separately. He is not taking Ya and Smai as the Pratyaya because they are the variants. So morpheme is always abstract entity. It is always named technically Nge, like Ta. So he does not use the basic morpheme with any form. Whenever there is a change, the basic morpheme is taken as technically as Nge, just as a symbol, which is realized or represented in three forms: Ya, Smai, and Sya. When you get Ya, and you can see this, Ngeriyaha, again, if it is followed by a Akaranta noun. Akaranta noun, that is Rama, Ramaya, Deva. Always again, Akaranta nouns, Chaturthi Ekavachana is Ya. So you get Ramaya, Devaya. You know Devaya Namaha. When you say Namaha, you get actually Chaturthi. So when we use this Chaturthi, that is why I am showing this. We have Tasmai Paninaye Namaha. When you say Namaha, Nama always it is an adposition. It takes always fourth case, Chaturthi. So you get Devaya Namaha, Narayanaya Namaha. So this Namaha Sabda is used with the Chaturthi Vibhakti always. That's why, and when it is a Sarvanama, that's why it is coming Smai. Smai means it comes after a pronoun with Akaranta. Akaranta. So like Sarva, Sarvasmai. Tat Sabda Saha, Tasmai. Tasmai Namaha. Tasmai Paninaye Namaha. Why is a Paninaye? Na Panini is Ikaranta. Because it is Ikaranta, it gets the form Ye, Paninaye, Munaye, Haraye. So Ikaranta Sabda, Chaturthi Ekavachana is with Ye, and we get this. And Sarvanama means Smai. So wherever there is Smai, it must be Sarvanama, Chaturthi Ekavachana. Sarvasmai, Tasmai, Asmai, Kasmai. So Tasmai Paninaye, Tasmai Nama. But if it is pronoun is feminine, so pronoun also is feminine. So you get Sya. Pronoun with A, feminine. Sarva, we have Sarva Sabda in feminine. Sarva Balikaha, all the girls. Sarvaha Balakaha, all the boys. Sarve Balakaha, all the boys. Sarvaha Balikaha, all the girls. Sarva comes. And if Chaturthi you get Sya. And A is added, Sya is an agama here, you get Sarvashyai. So we say Tasyai Namaha, Namastasyai, Devi, Durga Yai. Yai is the pratyaya for the feminine, and only part with Sarvanama you get Sha, Syai. You say Durga Yai Namaha, or you can say Tasyai Durga Yai Namaha. That. So pronouns and nouns, they are inflected in the same way, in the same vibhakti. That's why there is no difference between noun and adjectives. because the adjectives are inflected like nouns. Even the pronouns also change according to noun, the same vibhakti. Devaya namaha, tasmai devaya namaha. Devayai namaha, devyai namaha, feminine. Tasyai devyai namaha. So tasyai and tasmai only make difference between masculine and feminine. So whether it is noun or pronoun, all have the property of genders. They are used in 3 genders. So if you look at the sutra for him makes is that Nger Yaha 7.1.13 and 7.1. So sutra says Sarvanamnaha Smai. So since Sarvanamas take Smai, so the sutra is Sarvanamnaha Smai. With these pronouns, this ya, the Nge becomes Smai. So you get Sarvasmai, Tasmai, Kasmai, Anyasmai. And if it is feminine, you get Sarvanamnaha Syat Hasvascha in feminine. So feminine you get Sya. So you get Sarvashay. So any noun we are using either with Smai or with Ya, see it masculine, or Akaranto is what you call the Ramaya. If it is Halanta, what happens? Now why he has said Nge? In Nge, the first one is actually a Anubandha, the tagging. Nge is only used to indicate it is a morpheme. The real morpheme is actually A. Now, why do you know? You have already changes now, Ya, Smai and Sya. Then where Pratyaya is, why you say A? What does it mean? We are talking of now nouns and pronouns with masculine and feminine. And these are with again vowel ending, Ajanta. If it is Halanta, those who are consonant ending, for them A. All the consonant endings, they take A only. Gunin Sabda, you get Gunine. Any consonant ending, the form is A. So all the consonants, Chaturthi Ekavachana is A. Only when come to the Ajanta, vowel ending, and the Sarvanamas, the change takes place. See again, the basic morpheme, that's why it's taken A. Nge. It becomes Ya, it becomes. Otherwise, it remains for consonants. Halant. For vowels only, it changes. If it is Akaranta, it becomes Ya. If it is Sarvanama, you get a Smai, and feminine, Sya. The rule gives you the clear instruction. Anywhere you see the change, the changes are controlled. Nger Yaha, one sutra. Sarvanamnaha Smai. Sarvanamnaha Smai. Sarvanamnaha Syat, Rasvascha, feminine. See these rules, how many rules we need? It depends upon the changes that has taken place within a domain. If we are talking of these vibhaktis, one vibhaktis, how they have undergone change and how it has been accounted adequately, how he has been described, and without any doubt, unambiguous. Anybody has doubt can ask. He has clearly stated Chaturthi Ekavachana. It remains how we can test it. Read any book, wherever you get. How do you translate? How do you interpret? People do not understand the vibhaktis. They just interpret as somebody says. So we should not follow others. We should follow ourselves. What is the rule actually? If you know the rule, you cannot make mistake, nor anybody can say that you have done mistake. You cannot. Nobody can be master of you. You have to be master of your own. Unless we know ourselves, we know this is our understanding, this knowledge is our personal. But it is universal. Whatever is used, see how much the words are processed. Sanskrit is why it is called inflection language. For everything, unambiguity, you have suffix separately. There are allowum of separate. See the morphology. See the morphemes. See the structure of words, how the words are formed. With so many words we have, so many genders. All the words are used in 3 genders. And all 7 vibhaktis you are using with 21 forms. How it makes a difference and how it is become simple. We know Sanskrit is very vast, very difficult, complicated. Whether it is complicated or simple, it is just a testing. What is simple, what is complex. When you understand, it is simple. If you don't understand, you say it is very bad, complicated. We don't understand mathematical rules, we say, man, nobody goes to mathematics or optional or science. Literature is easy to read, just and write. But system, if you understand a system, that tells you everything. You need not learn all the word forms. Only some rules. Okay, next you have given one more also showing that Sarvanama noun. Next is you have 5th and 7th. So 6th is Sya. Here you see, here 5th and 7th, what we have. So there are 2 suffixes. They also, same way, Akaranta, you get At. We saw that. And if it is Sarvanama, you get Smat Spinau. Sarvasmai, Chaturthi Ekavachana. If it is Panchami, Sarvasmat, and Saptami, Sarvasmin. Sarvasmin Grame, Sarvasmin Sthane, in all places. Kasmin Sthane, in which place? Sarvanamas. Tasmin Sthane, in that place. Asmin Gruhe, in this house. All forms used logically. Once a pronoun is used, Sarvanama is used, noun comes with that. So you can use Tasmin Grame, Asmin Grame, Tasmin Gruhe, Asmin, Tasmin, Kasmin. And Smat, Tasmat, Gramat Agachati. Which Gramat? Tasmat, Gramat means from that village. So all the nouns and pronouns, they take the suffix, they change according to their category. If it's a pronoun, you get Smat and Smin in Panchami and Saptami Ekavachana. Rest of the things remain same. If we know the noun morphemes, then pronouns are automatically only makes a difference in Sanskrit. Pronouns are distinct. Though we say in every language noun and pronouns are there, but pronouns in Sanskrit are distinct in their form. That they take separate suffix. That is why Smai, Smat, Smin, wherever it comes, it must be a pronoun. It never comes with any noun. So that's why Sarvanamna Smai. Sarvanama is specified categorically. Condition. The change takes place within the forms because of the addition of suffix, but the same suffix undergo change. The morphological variants. So Smai is only a variant of Nge, where only with Sarvanamas. So Sarvadini Sarvanamani tells you Sarva is a Gana. So he has classified Sarvanamas into one group. He's called Sarvadini, Sarvod, etc. Sarva, Para, Kam, all these pronouns we are using. He gives a name Sarvadini, Sarvanamani. The Sarva, etc. This group of words beginning with Sarva represent the Sarvanamas. They are called Sarvanamas. Sarvadini, Sarvanamani. Then he says Sarvanamnaha Smai, Sarvanamnaha Smatsino. So it becomes a condition. So with this group only, you get this variation. So same suffix, 5th and 6th in other places, it is At. Tanga Singasa, in Atsyaha, we had seen At there with Akaranta, but with Sarvanama only Smat and Smin. So noun and pronouns, the difference is very well known through their morphological variations that you get. Then Ge, Ya with Akaranta nouns, and it becomes Smai with Sarvanama, and Panchami and Saptami again, you get Smat and Smin. Sashti remains same. Ramasya, Sarvasya. Only when there is a change, you need a rule. He doesn't talk against it because he has already given tang, asing, asam, inatsyaha. These are the common changes. But in Sarvanama, these are the only difference. In fourth singular, fifth singular, seventh singular are only changes. All other places, they remain same. So rules, how many rules we need? It is not necessary that for all pratyas, for all words, we should have separate rules. Not necessary. Because there is a processing. There are finite rules. If you look at the changes only, you can know where are the changes. Where there is no change, you get Ramabhyam, Sarvabhyam, Devabhyam, Latabhyam. So there is no change. Why to worry? There is no rule separate necessary. But it is found in everywhere. Divachana and Bahuvachana, Bhyas, Bhyam and Bhyas remain constant for all the words. Whether it is Halanta, consonant ending or vowel ending. Whether it is a noun or pronoun. That's why for them, there is no separate rule. That's why if you look at the table, ta bhyang bhis, ne bhyam bhyas, gas bhyam bhyas, gas os am. Only sasti, you will get os when you will come. So what is happening that if we look at these 21 suffixes and their variants, we don't need to learn all the words in Sanskrit. We don't need to know all the forms of nouns or pronouns. Because language is not just learnt by heart, no, as we believe. We do in the beginning only just like tables we know, only for the practice we learn, no. But only one. If you know only Akaranta, see these suffixes, why here, how he has put. Wherever there is a change, he has named separately. Ta, ge, gasi, gas, gi. They only undergo change. All other places remain same. All the nouns you talk about pronouns. We get only variation in the singular. But sometimes with the plural you will get only in the pronoun, sarbe, it is sarbaha. But the changes. That for that we need separate rule. How many rules you need? 21 rules or 7 rules? Number of rules depends upon number of changes. But look at this. These 21 he has fixed. 7 into 3, look at the number. Neither you can add nor you can drop. Who did this? How it is possible? If you know these 21, you can know the rest of the world. All the Sanskrit literature you read. You can read the literature if you know the changes of these 21 only. Because it includes not only nouns but also adjectives. For Sanskrit, noun and adjectives are both are pratipadikas. Noun follows, adjective follows the noun only. Whatever noun is, whatever its gender, the adjective changes accordingly. Sundaraha Purushaha, Sundari Stri, Sundaram Banam. You don't need to learn Sundara separately. If you know Rama Sabdara, Sevalakaha or Purushaha, you know all the adjectives used with them will be following the same only without any change. That's why adjectives all are part of the... So noun and adjectives represent one category in Sanskrit morphologically as well as syntactically also. You have no exception. That remains. Where are the if there is an exception, we have to look for whether Panini did any mistake. You listened to Chomsky lecture yesterday. And with that, I have sent to you a clip. What Chomsky says still. How Indian linguistics, Indian philosophy, they are ancient and most systematically done. And what he talks about this, again, finite. You see the infinite. But from where it comes, but there is a finite set for all infinity. It is only with finite we are looking for invisible with the help of visible. From known to unknown we are going. These are not seen. These are only shown by Panini. Panini has made this table 7 into 321. How this 21 will go with all the nouns, pronouns and adjectives is only a matter of understanding. Is it possible from finite to move infinite? If you know these 21 and their variations, you know all the nominal forms used in Sanskrit language. In spite of their complications, what we say, this is called, that's why it is called inflectional language. There is no word without an inflection, without a pratyaya. And the pratyas are not arbitrarily used. They are used in a systematic manner, in a systematic order, singular, dual, plural. Only 8th we are not taking, because always remember the Sambodhana is like Prathama. Sambodhana is like Prathama. The major changes are within these 21 suffixes, the 7 vibhaktis. Why 7 vibhaktis? Why not 6 or why not 8? So vibhaktis are basically 7 because they are related to the nominal usages in the sentences. That's why Subantam, Tingantam, Padam, Padam. So you get inflectional, and as I told you, the derivational is Krut Tadhita Samasa, derivational suffixes. So the nouns which you are using in the language, and all these suffixes will come with the derived noun also. You can say Dasarathi, Visarga Hraswa, Dasarathi, Das. So how Ikaranta is used? How Ukaranta, you can say Karaka, Karakaha, Karakau, Gayaka, Gayakau, Gayakaha. Same suffix will be added to them. Rajapurusho, Rajapurusho, Rajapurushaha. So Krudanta, Tadhita and Samasa forms also will take these suffixes only. If we know these suffixes, whether a noun is inflectional or derivational, they will take only these pratyas. So that fixes the finiteness. This fixes, and these are the what you call the forming, the word formation. These are derived. These are also called secondary derivatives. In derivational suffixes, we have again two types. One is primary, another is secondary. Primary suffixes are krudantas because we derive noun from the verb. Okay, verb is primary, pradhana. So noun derived from verb, we call verbal noun in English, maker, doer. And for us it is karaka, pachaka, gayaka, nayaka. They are the verbal noun, derived nouns. These are primary krut suffixes, are that's why called primary suffixes. And the tadhitas are secondary suffixes. So even within the noun, we make also this, what is described today in linguistics. If you read Chomsky, this Bloomfield language, you will see how linguistics has developed the terminologies, the classification of suffixes, the classification of root and suffixes, how much it was inspired with Panini's division of these Krut Tadhita Samasas. So it is a parallel development has taken place. That is why we feel when you read Panini is not to read only for Sanskrit. Whether you will call it universal or only for Sanskrit. Chomsky talks of universal. What is universal? Which is applicable to any language, no? The case suffixes, the 7 case suffixes, is it only for Sanskrit or for all languages? So there remains to how much we apply. See, compounds on the first originated with the Panini's classification. There is still now English is using our classification. Bahubrihi, Tatpurusha. Still now they are using Bahubrihi. For external, what do you call this? Endocentric and exocentric compounds, they use still Bahubri word because there is no better word than this to make distinct. So the compounds, custom systems, how Panini has again dealt. So now this is what we got it exactly on this derivational. So this is all noun morphology. Noun is used, or as a pratipadika, it is used both simple and complex or derived. Simple nouns are names of everything. All the names are simple nouns. And only complex nouns are three types because they are derived through different suffixes. So tadita, krudanta, and samasa. Samasa actually is a combination of two nouns. How vibhakti lopa takes place, we'll talk samasa when we'll come now. So we'll be now talking of these three aspects, that is krut, tadita, and samasa, how they are going to derive. I'm just showing here how derivational suffixes in noun morphology, inflectional and derivational base forms are there. Pratipadhikas are formed in two ways. So that is, one is inflectional, another is derivational. Derivational are only three types. That is why the second group sentence, if you see only three types of nouns, you can use derived nouns as the subject. So noun and this derived noun, three types. There is no fourth type in any language. Whether it is not only for Sanskrit. It can be any language if we can apply, if we can find out if there is any exception in any language, fourth varieties. You have simple nouns, you have derived noun, three, and we have these pronouns. These are the three types, makes the subject or the karta or the agent. So all sentences begin only with these three types. If there is a fourth type, one can look at, find out. Panini has fixed some numbers. See, look at this. What is his finiteness? Why his rules are compact? Why his rules are finite? So whatever he has given, only for changes. And changes that takes place in a particular domain. Adhikara, pratipadhikat sup. So adhikara. Domain is fixed. Sup is added only to a pratipadhika. Pratipadhika can be simple and complex. So the way it has been framed, the observational adequacy, can you get another noun other than this? We have to look at. So the property of pratipadhikas are only special with Sanskrit is genders. They are used in three genders: masculine, feminine, neuter. And it is the property of Sanskrit nouns, pratipadhikas, not of the verbs. Verbs are not inflected for gender. That's why when you come to verb morphology, you will see that in PNG we say no, person, number, and gender is used for all languages, Indian languages. Jata hai, jati hai. In Sanskrit, it is not there. So verbal gender is not there in Sanskrit. It is only nominal gender that makes a difference. And that whole inflections of the nouns in all three genders have been accounted by Panini. His rules applies to all types of nouns, and he has given restriction, niyama. That's why where it changes and when conditional. So look at this, all the changes in the language, in spite of its complications or varieties, still Sanskrit words gives you the correct meaning. Why it is a wonderful structure? What is wonderful? You can imagine how words are systematically used. With the difference in vibhaktis, even masculine, feminine, and still they are used in a finite set and gives infinite forms with specific restrictions, niyama. If it is akaranta, you get like this. If it is akaranta, you get like this. If it is sarvanama. So these are the very factors which are linguistically important. They are the semantic categories. The classification is not based on the forms alone. It is the semantic categories more important. Gender, number, where you will put it. These are the name, they are not the meaning of words. Vibhaktis is not a meaning of word. So karaka, these are not the meaning of word. It is more than words, beyond words. They represent certain relationship that we will see. So now this is what the noun morphology, inflectional as well as derivational. Same way we will see for verb also. How verb, again you will see in 10 lakaras, inflectional, again you will get Derivational suffix, how much you get? So krut will come under the derivational suffix of for, that will be different adhikara, dhatu. So we have roughly completed the adhikara, that is pratipadika adhikara. Pratipadika sup, how they are used, in what way they change. So we'll go next tomorrow on dhatu. How dhatu inflection takes place. Think. We'll come to think tomorrow and we'll see that. Now, within this, if anybody has any doubt, you please.
I just wanted to know how many rules sutras are required to be able to make the Sabdarupa with the table.
Now, see.
Totally how many rules? Because there seems to be too many rules.
No. When too many, look at this. Out of 21 forms, certain forms are constant. Divachana,
Okay.
Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami. Divachana, Bahuvachana remain same. So 3 into 3, 9 suffixes almost remain same, no change. Right?
Okay.
Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami. Divachana, Bahuvachana. Except Tritiya, Bahuvachana, they remain same. Bhyam, Bhyas. Bhyam, Bhyas. They remain same. For them, you don't need any rule. Do you need? Only when there is a change, only you need a rule, no? Niyama is necessary when? If there is a change. So change takes place with su we saw. One rule you need. Su pratyaya. What we have shown? With consonant, we have one type of change, that is lopa. With dirgha, with napunsaka, we get lopa. But only napunsaka akaranta, you get Do you get more than that? Question is how many rules you need. So if you for pratham vibhakti ekavachana, you basically need 2 rules. One is halangabhya, after halant, as well as dirgha, everything is lopa. And if it is neuter, you get neuter akaranta. It is How much things you need? 2 will help you to tell you that wherever you go, you find the nouns, either it is masculine or feminine, dhorso or dirgha or consonant or ajanta. So within that only this will work. Depending on changes, na tritiya bahuvachana, only one rule, ato bhis ais. If it is akaranta, you get ai, ramehi, devehi. All other places bhis. So one rule is enough. You don't need another rule. So changes. In case of soup, you need 2 rules for halanta and ajanta, or say napunsaka. For tritiya bahuvachana, you don't need only one. From ditya ekavachana, ramam, devam, gitam, okay, naikam. So ma comes with all harim, nadim. So is only suffix, only one rule, amipurva, only one rule. Ditya vidya ekavachana. Like that, if we go one by one, so most of suffixes 1. Only major suffixes undergo change, like su or sange. That's why wherever he has given technical thing, that indicates it has many representations. The same suffix undergo change under different condition. So how many are there? Only ekavachanas you will find. And prathama bahuvachana, so masculine, feminine. So few suffixes, so except 5. Say bhyam, bhyam, bhyas. See, tritiya, divachana, tritiya, chaturthi, panchami, divachana, and chaturthi, panchami, bahuvachana, they remain constant all through. So for them, you don't need any rule. Rule is required only when there is a change. So it depends. Out of 21, if you take out 5, so you remain 16. Only 16 rules you need to find out that they are applied in this particular context. Only 16 rules. To understand Subhanta, all the use of soup for all now, you need only 16. So roughly, I am just roughly 16. Because all others, there is the rest of the 5 do not change. So number of rules depends upon number of changes within a suffix. Like in a, you get ya, you get smai, you get sya. Sarvasmai, Sarvasya. Because of the changes only you need, otherwise it is one. So even Atobhi is only one, Amipurva only one. So there are many places where you have only one. And in 5 places, there is no change at all, 5, 6 places. Tritiya Divachana, Chaturthi Divachana Bahuvachana, and Panchami Divachana Bahuvachana. They do not change. So out of the 16 only, so Ditya Vibhakti Ekavachana, only one rule, Amipurva only that's no other change. And in the Tritiya Ekavachana, sorry, what is that? Tritiya Ekavachana also you get ta ina. If it is not akaranta, ta remains, a remains. So the formation, so it requires a kind of, you need further little analysis that whether it is one enough or not. So I'm just showing some samples how the change have taken place in multiplicity, how Panini has been able to account for it, and types of condition he is using. Showing what is most important is how rules are important, how rules are conditional. There is no rule without a condition, and rules are changed based on changes. If there is no change, no rule necessary. Only when there is a change, you have to make a rule. Where does it change? So Panini's rules are aiming at the changes that is found in the language. And he has defined them, described them, the changes, in a systematic way, in a more logical manner, without adding any word extra. Whether you can drop one word from any sutra, so it is a challenge. Actually, Katyayana wanted to add some words in some sutra. That's why Vartika came by Katyayana to tell you that, from this sutra, this word can be dropped, for which Patanjali came to write Mahabhashya. You cannot change a word. Even eka matra, laghavena putrochava manya. Even one matra cannot be reduced from the sutra. That is Patanjali, that's why he says, Vyakhyanato Vishesa Pratipatti. Nahi sandehat alakshana. It is through Vyakhyana you will understand the meaning of it. Just because you have doubt, it is not alakshana. It is not without any purpose. That is his warning when he wrote Bhartikas explained Vyakhyanata. Okay. So any next please? Any question? Please. Yes, Deepa, please.
So I had a question on gendered nouns and gendered verbs. It's a very basic question.
Yes.
We have, Indian languages, as you said, are all derived, or in some sense, they're all, they owe their evolution to Sanskrit.
Yes.
But it seems like several Indian languages have gendered verbs. Where would this, how would it have broken the structure like this? Would there have been a necessity to break it? Because I'm just trying to think of any Indian language where the noun is gendered but not the verb. I'm not able to think.
Okay.
I think in Odia we don't have the gender.
Odia we don't have gender.
So Odia is closer to Sanskrit than the other.
Yes.
Exactly. So,
Right.
but so what is happening in other languages? That take the root. Okay, all the modern languages. So, but jata hai means English, Sanskrit is ya to go. Actually, they are using Vargya ja, but Sanskrit is antastha ya, because they write as it is the pronoun jata hai. In Odia we write antastha ya uchi. But in Hindi, they will write Vargya jata hai. Meaning is same, root is same, but only sound is changed. But jata hai, jati hai. See, actually after Middle Indo-Aryan, that is Pali and Prakrit, all these languages, the grammatical forms have changed. Even though vibhaktis are simplified, no? If you take one ko or ku, in Tamil it is ku, in Hindi it is ko, in Odia also it is ku. Ku, ko, ditya vibhakti, no? They are used directly without any inflection, without any change in the form. After Middle Indo-Aryan, that is Pali and Prakrit, all Indian languages, they add the vibhaktis in the same meaning. but without changing the base. They will say gharko, we will say gharku, and in Tamil you will say bitku. That's all. Noun is getting the suffix. So this similarly, the gender is only a see what I am trying to explain that Panini's rules represent the basic structure of a language. So every language used with a basic structure, that is a nominal formation or verbal conjugations, what we get in the languages, there is a noun and a verb, and they are derived of forms also available, but the variation take place according to the time and place. The same word is used in a different form in different place, but noun or the pratipadika does not change. The category does not change. It is called the, if you talk in terms of core grammar, this is the core, this is the basic. Panini has given a basic formula how language is used. That's why it is taken as a model. Where does language start? Where does it change? In how many ways it changes? If it is infinite, then you cannot have a rule, no? So the changes that take place in a language can be observed and described in a particular manner that is called the restrictive with niyama. That means if there is a change, there must be a condition. So Panini first shows that how Sanskrit is used, such a vast language is used so systematically. Whatever you know, you can come down and see with one rule everything is changing. He is showing the rule that mind processes the language. That is the philosophy of our Indian grammarians. It is language is in the mind. Language is processed so systematically with particular rules which we do not know, but we know them from the usages that we find. Rama, Ramo, Rama, Sarva, Sarvo, Sarve. So the differences we get in the outside, this is the data. The output appears to be different, but input is one. This input has a system. The mind has a system. It is not our system. It is not Panini's grammar. The grammar of the mind, how mind processes the language. Panini is only a model. You can use in any language, you can use in any way, but he is showing how changes are possible to be controlled or defined and described in a particular method. He has developed this methodology. Why these pratyaharas and how the sutras are used with the pratyaharas, with the vibhaktis only. These examples which I am giving you, explaining, these are all in the commentary tradition. Panini has not given any example. He has simply given you a sutra. Ato bhis ais, amipurva. How do you understand? Yer yaha. Tangasi. These are the only sutras he has given us. It is from the data the commentators have tried to describe the sutras or interpret the sutras according to the language used by the commentators. See the link. Panini does not give any example, means what language, what Sanskrit was known to him, he knows only. But it is only reflected when we describe the Sanskrit language with so many conjugations and these inflections. So we come to know the sutras were meant or described by him, having such a vast data, how he has been able to describe with a finite set. A finite sound system, a finite code form he made, then he has made finite, this, even it is 4,000, still they are finite because they explain the infinite, maybe 4 millions, 4 billions, more 4 trillions. There are forms, because you see the verb, 90 forms if you active and 90 forms in passive, 180 forms in one root. If you have 2,000 roots, how many forms are possible? Beyond our imagination. But still everything is explained by one rule. His rule we'll see tomorrow. How he makes a rule. What is rule we follow? It is not he is giving us a new rule. He is only giving how the rule could be. Just like Chomsky gives you n plus b and s is n plus np bp, like that. But Panini gives the basic structure of a language. What are the basic rules? Possible rules. Possible rules. He is not saying, he has never thought that he will be read. Anybody will read Ashtadhyayi. it will be required. So always thanks to Chomsky who made it first that no, generative grammarian is there. Means to what extent? How systematically mind processes the language and why it is computable, why computer is using this language only. You will see in February the 2 lectures how computer gives you all these forms we are doing. You will see in computational linguistics how they are applying, how computer is able to give each and every form with its rules. That we'll see that what is the beauty of a language, what is a language as such, how a language can be systematic, and how grammar is a system of language. It is a system of rules. Mind has a system. So our knowledge system is more methodical and systematic. Panini is the only pramana to tell you that whatever you know, you can understand, interpret. So that is why we are telling that it is a more descriptive grammar and it generates forms infinitely. And the pramana is Sanskrit language. Sanskrit language is the data. The whatever changes we find, we are able to justify that what Panini rule says, you don't get exception. Till date, we have not been able to get this exception. Though there are certain exceptions noted by different scholars or some pandits, but always we should see when he wrote and when we are getting this. Panini has not given examples. So any example you get as exception today cannot be considered that Panini, it is an exception to Panini Sutra. Maybe today's example or today's usage in a particular place at a particular text may be exceptional according to the regional variation. As you said, there are regional variation. Languages changes according to place and time. But the grammatical rules, the basic rules remain same. The categorization, the classification, the mode of changes, inflection, derivation. Why Panini has given Kurtaita Samasascha? Why cha? Because it is also Pratipadika. Why he brought to them together as one Pratipadika, one noun? We know so many nouns, no? But unless you know the basic unit or the basic function of a noun, we will not be able to justify how a rule is. Why a rule? A rule, that's why I had told you, because they say, abhyapti, atibhyapti, dosha raitam. There should not be any dosha. Dosha means abhyapti, too narrow, or atibhyapti, too wide. A lakshana, a definition, should not be too wide or too narrow. That is a real lakshana which does not have dosha, which is dosha raita. So these sutras, which is made by Panini at that time, still we are not able to find any dosha. That's why, how can you change unless you find some exception? Unless you have dosha, then you will say, no, okay, this is not correct. Why not change this? This was tried by Katyayana in 3rd century BC. Patanjali stopped him. Told, look at your things first. Understand the thing at a whole. Go for an explanation, definitions. Then you will make a correct that whether it is needed or not. So always it is there. Unless we know more, we will not accept that, oh, this is right. Why I am giving this? Because when you are seeing the development of linguistics, Chomsky is accepting every step, the thought process, the knowledge system. What Sanskrit language shows. How such a vast language, so many texts, so many subjects. You have astronomy, you have mathematics, you have physics, everything. But still everything is one language, explaining numbers also. The whole Aryabhatiya is writing the whole astronomy is developed out of that. How to count, calculate. So everything is studied through Sanskrit language and how this grammar is applicable to all texts written in Sanskrit. Why Panini is only grammar? Because there is no second grammar that can be, replace Panini's Ashtadhyayi. If we read both, then we will find that how much knowledge system we have, how scientific and logical it was. And even it is that we need to know that we have a system which is more scientific and logical than any other system we have seen today. That is our aim is to see how far it is. As far as I know, I am trying to. bring to the notice, share with you. Our system is also very, very logical and scientific. If any other question, keep on reading, seeing things, listen to Chomsky's lecture I have sent to you. So how he talks even today, how he's working still to find out this finite set. He still, you see his lecture, you listen. What is a finite
And
set?
that
Yeah.
was very good.
See, thing is that man wants to discover himself. No, whatever we know, we don't nothing. Very little. Why Panini wrote, why should you read? Because he told you, or it is required? Is it because Sanskrit we should read, or it is something beyond language? It is beyond language. That what we think. That is why I told you that Bhakyapadya says, Tadvat sabdopi buddhista. Shrutinang karanang prato. We hear them separately. We use them separately at different places, different times. It is the place and time that varies. But language does not change in the mind as it is, but it only appears in different forms. It appears in different forms. So that is what we'll be seeing sometimes when you complete. Our aim is let us complete the aspects, all aspects. So it is noun morphology. Tomorrow we'll go to verb morphology. Again, we'll see inflectional and derivational. Let us see how best we can do. And so if any other questions, always think that how language is compact and how it is simple and how it is finite rules. Even after 4,000, that's why Sanskrit is not changed, because the system. Okay. So, any other question, any doubt? Suppose anybody has. Can. Yes, Subhra. It looks like something, but we have to realize and verify. It is all a verification, no? When we study something, we must verify. Yes, साहब, खरे साहब, कैसे हैं?
आई एम फाइन, बहुत अच्छे। और बहुत ही नॉलेज वाली चीजें हम लोग मिल रही हैं, एंड इट इज ऑल बेस्ड ऑन द रूल
System. What is the system?
Yes.
How he could build. How he could build. And the language he used is totally different. That's why coding, no? The pratyaharas and this, how, hal, acha. Without that, nothing can be made rule, no?
Yes.
How he has brought into the application. That is most important. So always you have to see how Shiva Sutras were arranged, organized, how pratyaharas were formed, and how rules were made out of that. So nothing is outside. All are a continuation.
Yes.
So that we can understand that what is happening inside. What is happening inside. So whatever you see outside, immediately you understand how.
Yes.
So there was also a question yesterday to Chomsky. What do you think about communication? Universal grammar. He told, you have to think. When you talk, how a child understands. When you know more than one language, how do you learn them separately? Or you extend one to the other? You are applying the same rule. Then you pick up any language you want, no? Then communication become effective. If you don't know one rule, you don't know. So know your own language first, then we can extend, no? So he is giving. That is what is communication? What is universal grammar? What is universal? So it remains to understand, to find out whether Panini's grammar is Sanskrit or universal.
Yes.
So our idea is that application is most important, because it is a language of the mind that he has established first. That language is always a mental phenomenon. It is not a just social phenomenon. It changes. The variation takes place in the society, outside, in the output. But it is one inside. So one becomes many. So there the comes up Brahma, we say, no? Brahma is one, God is one, all others are only manifestation, different forms. So that comes also in Vakyapadya. Sabda is Sabda Brahma, first used by Bhartrihari. Sabda is like Brahma. It is one. It appears differently in different places. Okay? So this is what we have, still more to go. But unless we know, and why I'm giving and trying to again and again This you are going to see how computer works with this. How Panini rules are used by computer to give you all answers, all forms you want, with rules, with rules. So that is why I'm telling, try to be careful. Just look at, see things, how things are made, how rules are made. We'll see more thing tomorrow on verb also. You will see so vast number of forms. Still, the rules are able to define a rules he has made, which computer is doing. You ask any verbal form, computer will give you all the rules. I will show you tomorrow what is verbal. The morphology will come tomorrow because morphology is considered to be the soul of grammar. Morphology. Because morphology represents also syntactic meaning. That's why it is morphosyntactic. Morphosyntactic. Every word, that's why you call pada. Pada means it represents the syntactic meaning. When you say Ramaha, you say it is karta. So the concept of sentence is within the word itself. So it is not separate from words. It's called morphosyntactic. That's why Panini used the word padam. Padam means we say pada samuha vakya, not sabda samuha vakya. See, these concepts are so much. See, why is the word pada? This brings out the meaning of grammatical meaning, the syntactic meaning. So syntax and morphology are always two. You cannot read one without the other. So that is the basic relationship, interrelationship that we will see that what we are trying to do. And in Panini, how Panini made it, it is just I am only explaining. You can read any book. I am only explaining according to my experience, my knowledge. In my language, I am trying to explain you. These everything you will not get in any book, but at least you will get some hints that what they are doing and how we can best represent, explain. That is all our idea. So thank you all for giving this patient hearing opportunity to share with you at least that what our system, what is a system and how Panini is a model. That is all our goal is to know. That is how, irrespective of the language, how can we apply. Okay, so see you all tomorrow. Come ready, go through this. Any doubt you ask, and we are going to verb morphology tomorrow. So we'll do it. See you tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.